Welcome back to Deep Dive Dialogues. I'm your host, Dan Warheide. Today, I want to dig into goal setting. I say because maybe that's not everybody's favorite topic, or maybe you feel like you've got a grasp. Either way, I hope you'll stick around and hear me out. Before I get into the heart of today's content, I want to take just a moment to say that I would love to hear from you, right? I've asked the same question and I'll ask it again today. As a coach or consultant or creator, what is the greatest challenge, the single biggest frustration that you face right now when it comes to growing your online business? I'd love to hear from you. You can visit my podcast website, podcast.danw.us. And there you can leave me a voicemail, send me a note. You can also sign up to receive updates about the podcast and anything else that I promote specifically to that email list. I'd love to hear from you either way, even if it's just to offer some feedback, or maybe you want some specific help answering a question. Feel free to shoot me a note there, and I'll hopefully be able to create some content in that regard in the future. So back to what I was saying. I want to focus on goal setting, but not just for the rest of this year, of course, to add it as a framework to help you move forward into next year with purpose and clarity. I know it's really tempting to ease up as the year wraps up, but this is the perfect time to get real about where it is that you want to go. We're going to talk about building lasting goals that work, so you're not just setting up a New Year's resolution that we all know fades out by February. If you go and look at the studies, they show that most New Year's resolutions fail because they're not grounded in actionable, realistic plans. They lack the structure needed to keep you motivated over time. That's what I want to help you avoid in today's episode. So let's talk about why goal setting matters. Most people set resolutions with the best of intentions, but only about 9% of them feel successful by the end of the year. And again, a majority drop out as early as February. That's because they often rely on willpower alone or an overly simplistic plan. They don't have the support or tools to get through setbacks, distractions that inevitably come up. Today, I want to guide you through some more meaningful processes that go deeper than the standard SMART goals that you may be familiar with or have heard about. SMART goals, as we all know, are a great place to start, right? If you're not setting goals at all, SMART goals, absolutely. Start somewhere, write those down, meet those intentions. They cover the basics, the specificity, the measurability, and so on and so forth. But to make lasting progress, we need to go beyond that, in my opinion. It's what I have learned, and I have a profound respect for the process that I was taught, and I'm going to introduce you here. We need to get into the heart of why we're setting these goals, how we're setting these goals, and how we'll overcome the inevitable challenges along the way. So I'm going to walk you through a 7-step goal setting process that I have used. I learned this process in the military when I became a master resiliency trainer. I use this in my own coaching. I use these personally. This process does go beyond the basics and will help you dig deeper into creating a plan that's aligned with your values and built to keep you moving forward, right? Taking regular, intentional action. That's the key. So let's jump in. Step number 1. Let me back up and share with you, first of all, the source of this 7-step goal setting process really comes from University of Pennsylvania that delivered the model that we taught in the Army around the Master Resiliency Program. It's a really great process. I have adapted these steps based on the real world, the real life experiences that I've encountered in my business and some of the things that I have learned along the way. So what you're getting today is my version, but the foundations came from the University of Pennsylvania. So step 1, defining your goal. What do you want the end step to look like? That's the first step, to define your goal with absolute clarity, not just a broad wish like I want to get in shape, but a clear vision that you can picture achieving. Asking yourself things like, what does my successful outcome look like? This is what we call your end state. What will be true about your life, your work, your health, etc. when you get there? And then to make it real, align it with your personal values. Take a look at any online values sheet or chart that help you identify the things that are going to be most important to your goal, why it is you want to achieve this outcome. Things like accountability, perseverance, growth. Defining your goal in a way that reflects your values gives it staying power. Values like these drive you forward even when things get tough. So see, we're already going deeper than what SMART goals address. Step 2, know where you are right now. You have to understand where it is that you're coming from before you can get to the end state you desire. So get a realistic look at where you are right now. This is, the energized phase, because it's about taking stock of where you're starting and finding the motivation in that awareness. What strengths and resources do you already have? What obstacles might you face? Think through categories like your mindset, your physical readiness, the support systems that you have. What are your finances looking like? Any other areas that may impact your ability to achieve that desired end state. This step grounds you in the reality and helps you anticipate those potential roadblocks so that you'll be ready to address them as they come up. Next, we need to take a look at our priorities, how we set them, or the priorities we set. Based on your current state and the challenges you've identified, you want to break that goal down into 3 to 4 broad areas that are going to be essential to achieving that desired outcome. If your goal is to start a business, these priorities could include building a network, right? Who am I connected with? Securing financial stability, or maybe even outside funding, whatever that looks like for you, and developing your skill set so that you're in the right place by the time you get to the end state to help you achieve it. These become your focus areas to make sure that you're not spreading yourself too thin or getting distracted by other things. So these are basically 3 or 4 mini goals within the overall goal. By the way, I failed to mention that when you're getting specific about your goal, defining that end state, you want to include things like time, right? When do you want to achieve this end state? I failed to mention that earlier on, so I just backed up to step 1 for a second. So bear with me. Moving on though, step 4, making a plan for steady improvement. This is actually where the SMART steps come in. Most goal setting processes will teach the SMART steps, but they don't break it down into a proven framework or process that makes SMART steps only a single part. So we start building the action steps here. Remember, we're not stopping at SMART goals. We're adding that layer of power to these. Power statements is what we're going to develop here. These are phrases that will help you keep focused and remind you why you're doing what you're doing. So let's say one of your SMART actions is, I'm going to drink 80 ounces of water every day. That's a start. But when you couple that with a power statement like, I'm fueling my body so that I can feel my best, it adds a layer of purpose and keeps you motivated. These SMART and power steps together give you the roadmap and the motivation to keep going. Now, SMART, as you may or may not recall, specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound. So and there's a couple variations of what R and T actually stand for, but they're relatively the same. So keep that in mind as you're building these action steps. So you take those, let me explain this a little bit better. In step 3, you decided what priority areas, those 3 to 4 broad areas that are going to be essential to achieving your desired outcome. So once you've identified those 3 to 4 broad areas, step 4 is really about taking those broad areas and defining specific action steps to address each of those throughout the process. So here you're adding action steps using the SMART steps process. So these action steps are clearly defined like mini goals. Again, I will drink 80 ounces of water every day. It's specific, it's measurable, it's actionable, it's relative, and it's time bound. So using that process, you create these steps, and then you build these power statements. The power statements support those action steps, those mini action steps that you're going to take to help keep you focused when things don't feel perfect, right? I am fueling my body so that I can feel my best. And the reason you're doing that is so you can achieve the overall desired outcome you defined in step 1. Step 5. Pursuing regular action. Once you've got your plan, the key is to act intentionally and consistently. You focus on what's important now. There's an acronym called it's WIN. That is simply what's important now. This is where you take action every day, even if it's small steps. You set up a daily routine. You check in with yourself each night or each morning and ask, what's the most important thing I can do right now to move closer to my goal? Holding yourself accountable to these small, steady actions will add up over time and keep your momentum strong. So the real focus for step 5 is deciding what's important now, writing that down and holding yourself accountable towards those daily steps or time-bound steps that you outlined in accordance with each of the 3 or 4 broader categories. You see how these steps kind of work off building one another. So step 5 is defining your regular actions, right? Cliff Ravenscraft, I heard him talking recently on a podcast episode, and it may have been in a coaching session as well. But the word decide isn't enough by itself. I think he attributed this to Tony Robbins even, but the word side is the root of the word decide, and to side, if you go back and look that up, is to kill, right? Kill off any other options. And in order to achieve success, once you've made that decision, you have to commit to taking any action that is relative right now, in this moment, or as soon as possible in the next 24 hours. That's going to help drive you in the direction towards being successful at whatever it is that you have set out to achieve. Now, step 6, commit yourself completely. To see this through, you need to be fully committed to this. That goes back to what I was just saying about deciding. Motivation can fade, so it's an essential requirement to create systems that remind you of why you're working on this goal, what it is that you're aiming for. Find someone to share your goal with and who will help hold you accountable. Sharing that goal with someone else will, inspire them to take action in their own world potentially, but in this particular case, they're more inclined to check in on you and say, hey, you told me that you were working on this. How's that going? That helps with an accountability piece. Set up cues in your environment, right? Posting your goal on a mirror or some place that you're going to see it every morning when you're brushing your teeth or blow drying your hair or whatever it may be that you do, putting that goal up in different areas of your house or your living arrangement so that it's in front of you. It's a reminder. Maybe you add a remote reminder to your phone, sticky notes in your workspace. But finding ways to stay connected to your goal throughout will help you stay motivated, especially when those challenges arise that we all know are going to present themselves. Step 7, Consistently monitor your progress, right? Part of setting goals is monitoring where you're at in the process of achieving that goal. Monitoring your progress is essential. This is where you're going to check in with yourself regularly. Whatever makes sense to your goal. Maybe it's weekly, maybe it's bi-weekly, whatever works for you and the goal that you have set to achieve, right? You're not going to be developing a goal of running a 10-mile run, a 10-mile, like the Army or Marine Corps 10K. It's a 10K, not a 10-mile. Anyway, Army has a 10-miler. You're not going to set up a goal to run a marathon, period, if you've never run before and expect that you can just do it without checking in. And a goal like a marathon, if you've never run before, might require weekly check-ins. What was my progress this week towards being able to complete a marathon? How many days this week did I run? How far did I run? Things like that. It's all about determining, are you making progress? What is working? What adjustments do I need to make to what I'm doing to ensure that I'm staying on track? Be sure to lean on your values when things do get tough. They'll help you find the solutions that you're looking for and to remind you of the bigger picture in the first place. This regular review, again, whatever you set up that makes sense, keeps you on track and allows for small adjustments or tweaks as you go, helping you stay focused, stay in tune, and continue towards progressing and achieving your desired outcomes. So there it is, pretty simple, pretty short, a deeper 7-step process to set and achieve meaningful goals. As we head into the next year, think of this as a start of your journey, not just making a resolution. Instead of setting a goal that fizzles out by February, start with building the foundation that's going to help you sustain for the long haul. This is when it's time to finish strong this year. Now is that time. Get clear, build momentum, and continue to carry that forward. And before I go, let's just go back and revisit in summary, right? Step 1. Step 1 is defining your desired end state. Define your goal. What is it you want to achieve? Now, an important note here is just to say that it's not enough to define your goal and when you'd like to achieve it by, but you also want to ensure that it is a goal that is worthy of going through a full 7-step process to achieve. You know, if it's, I want to do X by next month, does it require a full-on evaluation to help you maintain motivation over the duration of the next 30 days? Maybe not. That's for you to decide. This 7-step process, though, that I've outlined, and I'm going to summarize here in a second, is really designed to help you achieve the bigger, more long-term goals. It doesn't have to be a year. Maybe it's 3 years. Maybe it's 6 months. But the goal that you decide here to use this process for should be something that's worthy of going through a 7-step goal-setting process to achieve. So, step 1, defining that end state, your desired goal or outcome. Step number 2, taking inventory of where it is that you are right now. Knowing where you're coming from will help you develop the rest of this process. Step 3, decide what you need to develop. What are the priority areas? Again, this is 3 to 4 broad areas that are going to be essential to your overall goal. Breaking it down into things like mindset, physical, financial, etc. Step 4, make a plan for steady improvement. This is where the SMART steps come in. These are designed to create miniature steps that in each of those 3 to 4 broad areas defined in step 3. Step number 5, what are you going to do now? What are the regular action steps that you're going to take? What's important right now? Step number 6, commit yourself completely. Decide and fully commit yourself to these are the things, the desired outcomes that I am going to achieve. And then step 7, monitor your progress. Check in. Decide how often you need to check in to determine your progress, and then what adjustments need to be made along the way if you're not achieving the track that you have set out. So there it is, 7-step goal setting process. If you have questions, I'm here to help. I'd love to talk with you or, join you to walk through setting some realistic goals, helping you develop this plan and to continue to carry forward as you grow your business. Thanks for joining me today. As always, I want to wish you a great week. And before I go, I want to remind you, I'd love to hear from you. Do you have ideas or something specific you'd like to hear discussed in an upcoming episode? Is there a specific challenge that you're facing? And the question I ask there is, what is the single greatest challenge that you're facing when it comes to growing or starting your business right now? You can visit podcast.danw.us. Get on my mailing list, hear updates about the podcast and other things. I do have something that's coming up. I'm going to put a date of the first week of December as a 5-day challenge. I'm going to be walking people through only by email and only available to people who are on my email list for this podcast. So I hope that you'll sign up there. But you could also send me a short voicemail or a note on that page and share your thoughts or your answer to the question. I'd love to hear from you. And if there is someone you think can benefit from setting achievable, realistic goals and could benefit from a 7-step process, I'd love it if you'd share this episode with them. So until next time, have a great week.